My name is Naila, and I escaped a child forced marriage. My dad promised me off to my first cousin so I can be his little ticket out of Pakistan because I'm an American citizen. So my story begins with me being born in Pakistan, and at the age of 4, I immigrated to the United States to be with my dad. I came along with my mom and my siblings. I slowly started to realize that I was different. I had to wear shalwar kameez, which is Pakistani clothes. My culture was different at home. I'd go to school, see kids wearing shorts with girls showing their legs. To me, that was all foreign. As a child, as a human being, all we know is change and how to adapt. I was like, I don't belong. I felt like I didn't belong. And slowly, as I entered, my teen years, I started rebelling. And when I started rebelling, and my dad, he found out, he didn't like it. I went back to Pakistan at the age of 8 for a cousin's wedding. And when I went back there, even my mom didn't know. My father promised me off to his older brother at the age of 8 and said, she's yours for your older son, who was 13 years older than me. My first cousin, yes, who I grew up calling like brother. It wasn't for exchange or anything because my father didn't need money. He was just trying to help his nephew out because I had a passport. So what happened from there is the way I found out that, oh my God, I'm engaged, is a bunch of teenage girls came up to me and they were giggling and they're like, do you know what happened last night? I was like, no. I was 8 years old. I remember playing with like a goat. She's like, you got engaged last night. And I didn't know how to process that. I mean, which 8-year-old can process that? I didn't think anything of it. I came back to America and started the 4th grade and had my first crush. And that's when I realized, oh my God, I'm different because I'm already engaged. So I couldn't tell my peers. I couldn't tell anyone. It was an inside internal battle. And what happened from there is I came back. I started, junior high, started rebelling even more. At the age of 13, I went back again to Pakistan. And when I went back, they performed my religious ceremony. In the United States Constitution and United States Citizenship Immigration Services, they consider that a legal marriage due to our freedom of religion laws. The age of marriage in New York was 14 years old with parental permission. I turned 14 and my dad made me fill out the first USCIS petition for my husband/cousin to come to America. I know I didn't have to consummate the marriage. I'm 13. I had no idea, but I was a little shy. I had no idea. I never spoke to my cousin about any of this because we didn't have that kind of relationship. I grew up in America. He grew up in Pakistan. I went through hell and back. The day of my wedding ceremony at 15, I remember, in my culture, the bride sits in the room at night and waits for her groom to come into the room to see her. He lifts her scarf up to see her face, and then he gives her like a wedding gift. My heart was beating fast. I was like, I hope he doesn't touch me. I remember putting these big pillows in between us at night. I just wanted the night to end. I was petrified. I was scared. I felt abandoned by my parents. For 2.5 months, my parents didn't listen to me. My dad left. My mom left. They left me with him. He took my passport. He took my phone. I tried a few, running away attempts. The abuse kept going on. And then one day, oh my God, there's some white people in our village. They were like, there's white people here and they're looking for Nalia Amin. And I was like, oh. And this white woman, she came inside and I was like, because he was sitting in the room and she was like, can you go get me water? She's like, because you're married, we can't do anything unless you run away and come to the US Embassy. I was on lockdown. They took my phone. I couldn't touch the house phone. They had the brother's wife watching me. I was under constant supervision. My mother came back, and upon coming back, she was arrested for child endangerment because I was in her custody when I was taken away from CPS. My dad called my ex-husband and told him, you need to let Naila come back. They arrested your aunt. You need to send her back. And it was 1 week from the date of travel, but that was like the longest week ever. And I remember on the way back to the airport coming back, he was like, you're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to sleep over there. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. And I'm thinking in my head, like grinding my teeth, like, you monster. You're never going to see me again. I got on a plane. It landed at JFK and they made an announcement. Everyone stay seated until Miss Nalia Amin gets up. And I was like, okay, wait till, put the spotlight. I was shy, but I was like, if I don't get up, they're going to find out which seat I'm sitting in anyways. So I got up, and when the door opened, it was like 40 government officials. And this was like their first international child protective type of case. And the first night I spent in a psychiatric ward because they wanted me to be safe and get checked out. They didn't want my parents to get to me. The next day I went to family court, went through the whole foster care system again. Eventually I turned 18. Life was very hard when I got back after escaping a forced marriage from Pakistan. Lots of foster care, lots of group homes, lots of therapy, but I didn't want to admit something was wrong with me. I was like, I don't need medication. I don't need this. I wish I would have started the work then and I would have healed sooner. Unfortunately, I didn't choose this life. This life chose me. I wish I was an accountant or a lawyer or, for God's sake, a saleswoman. Come home, forget everything. When I started my organization, I was 26 years old. At the age of 25, I was approached by a reporter from the Epoch Times who went into Women for Afghan Women in Queens. It's a shelter, and said to the director, I'm looking for a South Asian woman who is a survivor of a child forced marriage and who is willing to go in front of the camera. She's like, I know a big mouth who doesn't shut up about this because I volunteered there. So next thing you know, I'm speaking to her and we did the interview. It was 8 hours. The amount of opportunities, speaking at the United Nations, speaking at different universities, changing a law in New York, having it named after me. I think I came a long way. And at 26, I was like, you know what? I'm going to open up the first shelter that's going to house girls under 18. Because when I was 16, 17 on the streets, no shelter would take me in because I was a runaway from the shelters, and they won't take you if you're under 18. And if you're not 18, you can't retain a lawyer either. So you can get married, but you can't retain a lawyer. So the age of marriage was changed in New York from 14 to 17 in 2017. I had it changed to 18 with no exceptions, July of last year, and it's actually called Naila's Law. My organization is what gives me life. It's what keeps me going. People do reach out to me and tell me, because of your case and what happened, I was able to get out without my parents getting in trouble with the education loophole that you used in your survival case. People are using my survival story to rescue other girls in America. A lot of Middle Eastern girls, we don't want to get our parents in trouble. We don't want to call the cops on them. So what they do is they say, hey, if your child's not in school, we got to take her away and put her in foster care. And if the child says yes, then she gets out. At the age of 17, I had my beautiful baby boy. I became an EMT, emergency medical technician, when I was 20 years old. What makes me happy and the hobbies that I have now is I love nature. I love gardening. I love my son. I love my kitten, Aya. She is the cutest thing. I would love to open up my group home. And my biggest dream is I just want a home of my own where I can just be myself. Hi, it's Naila. Thank you so much once again for hearing my story. And if you want to follow my foundation, it's Nalia Amin Foundation on Instagram and on Facebook. And if you would like to support our cause, we do have a GoFundMe page. You just put in Naila Amin and I think it comes up in Google. Thank you.